Ubiquiti just released this 3U Enterprise NVR. Many people are retiring their 1U or 2U units with this new shiny one, and Ubiquiti has been running this promotion for a while. Just by paying $300, you can get a 1U NVR plus a G4 camera. The original 300 MSRP was already very good. Now it's like a steal. Ubiquiti's 1U or 2U NVR are constructed as NAS, work as NAS. The only difference is it doesn't run NAS software. When it comes to price, there's no way in the market with $300 or $500 you can buy brand new 1U or 2U rack mount NAS with 10 gigabit network and redundant power supply. It's simply impossible. So naturally, people may think whether we can convert the existing NVR or NVR Pro to NAS. So in this video, let's explore an easy way. By the way, you may find other approaches which may work much better than what we are going to discuss in this video. But in this video, I only want to explore the ways without cracking or hacking into the units, only based on the existing standard software. Let's see what we can do. Here I have to talk about the disclaimer. So in this video, I'm going to use my own UNVR and the UNVR Pro, which I purchased using my own money. I just want to share my experience with you. If you decide to do anything to your own devices, think about it, make your own decision, and take your own risk. In this video, I'm going to work on two different units, the 2U UNVR Pro and the 1U UNVR. In my opinion, there are 5 crucial aspects must be implemented, then we can call a unit NAS. So in this video, we are going to discuss how we can configure the RAID setup for your hard drives, how to use the existing network to support the NAS, and how to monitor the day-to-day operations of your NAS unit. The final 2 aspects are very important for NAS, how you can even share the files from your NAS units to your computers, how you can synchronize the files between your computer and the NAS or between different NAS units. At the end, we will compare the performance of the basic NAS unit we built from a UNVR and a UNVR Pro. This is a UNVR Pro in my lab environment. Later, I will check whether we can run the new NAS functionality together with the standard UniFi Protect application. So I have a camera connected to this UNVR Pro just for testing purpose. In this video, we are going to SSH into the NVR. Of course, I need to enable SSH. So let me go to setting, control plane, go to console, then let me enable SSH, give it a password, enable. Okay, then go back to the dashboard. I need to find out the IP address for this UNVR Pro. So click on the icon. Then here I can find out the IP address. I know there are 2 network ports for the UNVR and the UNVR Pro. Later I will explain how to find out the different IP addresses. In the right side terminal, let me SSH into the UNVR Pro. The username is root. Password is the one I just set. Please do read the notice and only proceed if you want to take the risk. So first, let's find out the RAID configuration. In the UniFi Protect, if you go to Setting, Control Plane for Storage tab, here you can find out how the hard drives are configured. For this UNVR Pro, I have 7 hard drives and the configuration is basic protection. Here, Ubiquiti hides the RAID details, but don't worry about it because in the backend, we can find out how the RAID is configured. In the SSH session, let me show the current RAID configuration. Show the MD stat. So here you can see there are 2 configured RAID devices, we don't need to worry about the MD0. The MD3 is the one which is showing on the UI, this 23.9 TB drive. Let me explain what the result means. It says the device is active. So we have a up and running RAID device, and it's configured as RAID file. On the UI, it says it's basic protection, right? And then here it lists 7 hard drives. The number in the brackets, they are the internal sequential number for the RAID configuration from 0 to 6, right? Totally 7 hard drives. It has 7 capital letter U. Each letter is for one hard drive. U means up. If for whatever reason some hard drives are down, here you will see underscore instead of U. That's the basic RAID configuration. If in your RAID configuration, instead of the basic protection, you select higher protection, internally Ubiquiti will configure the RAID as RAID 10 instead of RAID 5. From the personalities, you can see the system support these RAID types, but Ubiquiti only support RAID 5 and RAID 10. You have no other choices because the UI limit the possibilities. I believe for most people, RAID 5 or RAID 10 is enough. So this is about the RAID configuration. We don't need to do anything manually out of the box. Just by using UniFi Protect, you can configure the RAID. We are good about the first aspect, about the RAID configuration. Ubiquiti UNVR and UNVR Pro come with 10 gigabit network support, so I don't need to manually configure anything. The NAS I'm building will support 10 gigabit network. And the NVR also has a 1 gigabit RJ45 port. To find out the 2 IP address, let me run this command. So you can see the 2 network device name and their corresponding IP address. But here you cannot tell which one is for 10 gigabit, which one is for 1 gigabit. To easily find it out, let me run another command, Ethernet tour, then followed by the interface name we got from the above result. For the first part, you can see it's 1000 base T, which means it's gigabit network. And for the second one, the same command, Ethernet tour. Here you can see the speed is 10 gigabit. So the second part is our SFP plus part, the 10 gigabit part. Let me run iPerf3 server in the UNVR Pro. And then from the lower part client terminal, let me run iPerf3 client using the IP address for the 10 gigabit part. Okay. See, out of box, it supports very good network speed. UNVR or UNVR Pro has 2 parts, one slow RJ45, the other one 10 gigabit SFP+. If you decide to use both, especially if you want to use your UNVR as NAS, the network speed is crucial. You may want to be prepared for some strange speed issues. I do have a separate video in my channel talking about the speed puzzles. If you are interested, check that one. Going forward in this video, I'm only going to connect the 10 gigabit SFP+ part. Okay, so we have a great hardware to start with. We are good with network. Let's move on to monitoring. Monitoring can be very basic, purely command line based, or it can be very fancy, very complicated, has very user-friendly UI. You don't really need to install anything extra. The UNVR's operating system already comes with the basic monitoring tool. For example, if you want to see the hardware information, let's say CPU information, you can do this. Okay, you can see this UNVR Pro has 4-core CPU. You can see the speed, the architecture, the revision. And if you want to see the current system resource utilization, you can run the standard Linux command top. Then you see the CPU, memory, resource consumption situation, right? And if you want to see the memory hardware information, you can use this command, cat proc mem info. UNVR Pro has 8 GB memory. Currently, more than 5 GB is used for caching. Okay, another example, if you want to see the hard drive information, you can run this cat proc mounts. Pay attention to the very last one. Remember, our RAID device name is called MD3. See, the volume is mounted using this folder name, and the file system format is ext4. By the way, if you use other real NAS, you may know they support more advanced modern file system. For example, ZFS, ButterFS. But here we are talking about whatever outer box supported by Ubiquiti NVR, so it only supports ext4. We have to live with that. That means the NAS I'm building will be guaranteed to miss features such as snapshot, replication, which are relying on the more advanced file systems. Okay, so now you see without installing anything, you can already do basic hardware inspection and system resource monitoring, right? But if you want to have a more convenient user interface, you may consider to install the NMON packet. UNVR Pro is using the Debian 11 operating system, so you can use the standard Debian way to install the packet. Let me show you clear screen first. Let me use apt, and this is what you are familiar if you are a Debian user. So let me update the repository. Okay, done. Then let me install NMON. Okay, done. Very fast, right? Now if I run the nmon command, this is the initial screen. For example, if I want to see CPU, you see the 4-core CPU and current utilization. U is user, S is system. You can see currently the system utilization is very light. And then let me click M. You see the memory information, right? You see 8 gig total memory. What's the current free ones? And then let me click N. Okay, then you see the network information. You see the network ports and the current traffic. If I click D, you see the disk information, all the hard drives and their current utilization. Okay, so you can see everything within one screen. Even though now you are using SSH, the command line, you can still get a overall monitoring. Now we are good with monitoring. Let's move on to the two things that you do need to install something. Samba is a free software. It's an implementation of SMB network protocol. SMB is widely used by NAS to share files. Let's see how we can enable SMB in UNVR Pro. I am in the SSH session for the UNVR Pro. For Samba to run, it needs a configuration file. If I check this Samba SMB config file, now you can see it is there. But if I try to start the SMB service, the service name is called SMBD. You can see it doesn't exist, which means the Samba installation is incomplete in UNVR Pro. So I believe it's due to historical reason. I remember when UNVR or UNVR Pro was initially released, the operating system did come with Samba installed. You can directly start Samba service, but not sure starting from when. Ubiquiti deleted the Samba services. But the deletion was not complete because, as you can see, we can still find the Samba configuration left there, right? But it's not big deal because it's just a Debian 11 operating system. We can install Samba if we want. So let me do it now. apt install Samba. Okay. See, it pop up a dialog. The reason is the installation found the leftover files. For example, the configuration file we just checked, right? Let me say, I can select anything. For example, keep the local version. Okay, after a while, it's done. This time, if I run the same command to start the SMBD, yeah, you can see it's successful. So we successfully installed Samba, but we haven't configured it yet. Even though there was a leftover configuration file, it may not meet our requirement. So let's configure it now. Let's edit the SMB config file. I don't want to touch the existing one. Let me add a new section. I will name the share folder as UNVR. Previously, when we checked the volumes, we already saw the volume is mounted under this folder name, right? Later, I will create a folder called test, but now let me configure the shared path to this folder. Because this video is only to show you whether the idea works, so I will simplify it. I will not touch all the authorization and the folder access thing. Keep in mind, if you just use this type of bare minimum setting, it may not meet your complicated requirement, for example, to share file with other people, right? But for this video, I will simplify it. What I'm saying is I only allow the user ID, HZ, myself, to access it. Yes, I can browse the content, I can write to it, and it is not read-only. That's it. Okay, I'm done with the editing. Exit. We want to have a shared folder pointing to the test folder, right? So now let me create it. CD to the volume 1 folder. If you do a ls, you may be surprised because remember this is the RAID file disk. In the top right corner, you can see I do have a camera, and the camera has been continuously recording. The recorded files are supposed to be saved to this RAID file volume, right? But where is it? In fact, if you display all the files, including hidden one, you can see this called .srv. If we cd to it, you can see all the UniFi Protect related databases, folders for different images or the recorded videos. We won't go to the details, but just to let you know, don't worry about it. The recorded video files are still there, untouched. Okay, so now let's create a folder called test. And because I am using root user to create this folder, later I need to change the security setting for the folder so that I can use my ID HZ to access it later. So you will see for UniFi OS, it comes with user ID root, which we are using now. But for NAS, I don't want to use root. I want to use my ID HZ. Of course, that ID doesn't exist now yet, so we need to create it. Let me say user add. All these commands are just standard Linux command. They have nothing to do with UniFi OS. Okay, user created. Then I want to create a group called NAS GRP. Then I want to add my user ID to the newly created group. Now I want to set the password for new user ID, SMB password. This password will be used later when you try to access the Samba shared folder from your client. So now we have the new user created. We still have one missing step, which is to make the test folder accessible to my new user ID. Here for the newly created test folder, you can see this is the current access. Let me change it. Okay. Then let's check the access again. So you can see how the access is changed. For owner, it remained the same. And for group, I give it read and write access, and for other rights, it has none. Okay, even though the access level give the owner and the group the proper rights, but the owner is still root because we use the root ID to create the test folder, right? Now we need to change the owner from root to HZ. Currently, the owner is root, the group is root. Let's change it. Change owner, HZ. NAS GRP, the newly created user and the group. The folder is the test folder. Okay, done. Then let's see the current situation. Okay, see the test folder has this access level and is owned by HZ from NAS group. We are good from the operating system level. Now let's test it out from a client. From the right side Mac machine, launch a Finder. Then from menu, connect to server, input the SMB protocol, followed by the IP address of the UNVR Pro. Connect. Okay, I need to input my credentials. So for user ID, HZ. For password, the one I just used in the UNVR Pro when creating my user ID. Okay, it lists out 3 shared folders. Why 3? From the left side, let's revisit the SMB configuration file. We specified 3 sections, 3 shared folders. In this video, I'm only interested in the UNVR, which is what I created here. It used the test folder, right? I'm connected to UNVR shared folder. Let me try to see whether I can even access the folder or not. Right click. Let's see whether we can create a folder. Okay, I can create one. From the terminal, let me cd to the mounted shared folder. It's mounted under UNVR-1. Okay, I see the folder I just created, test. And let's see whether we can create a file, vi test.file. Okay, I can create one, no problem. Yep, that confirms we have the proper access to the folder. Let's briefly check the speed. In this client machine, under a temp folder, I have 10 video files. Let me measure their total size. It's 25 gigabytes. Then let me copy them to the mounted shared folder in UNVR Pro. And because I want to measure the speed, right? So let me time the total duration, run it. It's completed in about 2.5 minutes. Let me do a simple calculation. So we have 25000 megabytes divided by 146 seconds. So the speed is 171 megabytes per second. So let me time the result by 8. It's about 1.4 gigabit per second, higher than 1 gigabit, but much less than what you expect from a NAS if it has 10 gigabit network speed, right? Here we are testing using the command line CP. Maybe the implementation of the CP command doesn't make complete utilization of all the potentials of the network and the hard drive. So let's use a popular disk speed testing tool to test it out. I have launched the disk speed testing tool. Let me first select the UNVR Pro shared folder as the target drive. Then start testing. Okay, for write, I can get 300 megabytes per second. For read, 7.5 megabytes per second. I have to say it's a very good result, not worse than normal NAS on the market. Let's just go through what we did. In a standard UNVR, we installed SMB packet using the standard Debian way. Then we made very simple editing to the existing SMB configuration file. We started the Samba service. Then from an example client machine, I use a Mac, but it works for any other operating system. I connect to the shared folder using the SMB protocol. Then I got access to the shared folder, and the speed testing confirmed the speed was very good. That confirms the network and the RAID performance are not bad. I just used a UNVR Pro for the testing, right? Let me briefly switch to a UNVR, the non-Pro version. Let's see what performance we can achieve. In the right side, you can see for this UNVR, it has only 4 hard drives. That means theoretically the RAID file will not perform as good as the 7 drive one in UNVR Pro, right? And when it comes to network, I'm also going to use the 10 gigabit SFP+, so network speed shouldn't be different. in the lower part, the client machine, I already mounted the shared folder from the UNVR. Let me start testing. I can only get just half of the performance as the UNVR Pro. Much worse, right? Basically, I can think of two reasons. First, the UNVR, the non-Pro version, has only 4 gigabytes memory. You know, memory in NAS will be used as cache, so the cache will improve performance for sure. Another reason, as I already mentioned, it has only 4 hard drives, so of course the RAID file performance is worse than the 7 drive UNVR Pro, right? And in my particular case, for the UNVR, I only use the slow 5400 RPM hard drives. But for the UNVR Pro, I use the faster 7200 RPM. So that may also contribute to the slow performance. Okay, so we are good with the file share part. Move on to the next part about how to synchronize files. So in previous section, I did show you how to copy files from the local client to UNVR Pro, right? But the manual file copy way is very primitive. If you have multiple folder levels, or in the future you only want to synchronize the delta, manually using copy is either impossible or very boring, very tedious. A very popular way to synchronize file between two systems is to use Rsync. There are two ways to utilize Rsync. First way, you don't need to install any service in the server. As long as from client side you have Rsync, the client side tool, that's enough. Let me show you. I already have 10 video files copied, so let me delete it from the server. The video files are deleted. Then from the client, let me run this rsync command. The source folder is my local client machine. The destination is the UNVR Pro shared folder I already mounted. And let me time the duration using time. Okay, right. Finally, it's done. So you can see from the time measuring, it took more than 5 minutes, much longer than the copy command. So it seems Apple's CP command is more efficient than Rsync. But using Rsync is still very convenient. For example, in the source folder, let me cd to the TMP folder, then create a new folder, cd to it, then create a fake file. Now if I run the rsync command again, let me say sync all the files under TMP folder to the target folder. Let me run it. See, it only synced the new folder, new file, not the existing 10 huge movie files. So it's very fast. So then in the left side, we can examine the folder. Yeah, I do see the new folder is created, and it's created by user HZ. You can see this way is very easy. You don't need to install any service in the server side. In fact, in real world, most cases, you are only going to use this NAS client as a machine to relay the transfer. Source normally will be other file servers or NAS. The client will sync files between the existing NAS and this UNVR Pro. That will be a typical use case. But apparently, the disadvantage of this approach is you need to temporarily transfer the files from server 1 to your client and then to the final server. So it may be not very efficient. It's unnecessary burden to the client and your network. Then let's discuss another way. You can install the Rsync D to run as a server. Then you can directly sync file from your other NAS. So let me show you. In the lower right window, I launched the client to my Synology NAS. So Synology comes with a tool called Hyper Backup. It supports multiple popular ways to synchronize file. So for example, if I want to add a backup type, I select the folders and the packets. Then I choose Rsync. So in this video, let me use the single version as example because it's simple. Then I need to choose the server type because I'm using a custom UNVR Pro, so I need to choose the Rsync compatible server. I need to input the server's IP address. For credentials, let me provide the one I used in UNVR Pro, right? Here is a new thing. You don't see it in your manual Rsync client way. It's called backup module. But if now I try to see what's the available backup module, it returns error. Why is that? Because we don't have the Rsync D, the service installed in UNVR Pro yet. Let me go to the SSH session, use the Debian way to install Rsync. Then let me edit the Rsyncd configuration file. There's no existing one, so let me create a new configuration. In the square brackets, this name is required by Synology. I give it whatever name I want, UNVR underscore NAS. Then the path is the one pointing to volume. So now the backup folder doesn't exist yet. Let me create it later. Then here I need to specify the access. Just to simplify this video, I only allow the Synology server to access it. So I specify its IP address here. And then I deny all other hosts. For list, I say true. I only allow my user ID, group, so the read-only is false. It's a very simple configuration. Let me save it. Okay. I still need to create the folder backup, right? Let me switch to HZ user so that I can avoid the troubles of the access. Go to volume 1, test, make a new folder, backup, just as what we specified in the Rsyncd configuration. Okay, done. Exit. Now I'm back to root. We are good with the folder and the configuration. Then let me start the Rsyncd service. Okay, it's started. This time, let me go back to right side Synology. Let me try to pull up the backup module dropdown. There's no error, and it lists the only module which we specified in the UNVR Pro's configuration file, right? Let's move on. Next, let me choose one of my video project. Next, I don't want to back up any other application. Next, I accept the default name, the default target directory. Next, done. Backup now? Yes. You can see the target is online. Synology is initiating and doing the backup. Give it some time. Okay, it's finished. Of course, the speed is not super good, just like when we manually execute Rsync, right? By the way, the Synology also has 10 gigabit network, so it's not due to the network speed. So it's just how Rsync behaves, but it's not the point. The point is you can easily, conveniently synchronize the source and destination. In Synology, this job can be scheduled in whatever way you want. Okay, in the left side SSH session to UNVR Pro, we can check whether we have the file. CD backup. Okay, I see this folder. This is what we specified in Synology job. Okay, I see the YT folder. Yes, I see the video project I just synchronized. Okay, now we are done with the 5 major aspects of a NAS. Before ending this video, I have an important topic to cover. I believe it has been bothering many viewers from the beginning, which is, okay, you have a perfect NAS hardware, but what if all of a sudden Ubiquiti UniFi Protect application is updated? Or what if the UniFi OS is updated? Or what if you simply change some UniFi Protect configuration? Whether it will ruin your NAS files? Let's test it out. Let's start from the easiest one. Whether the NAS files can even survive a UNVR reboot. So now in the SSH session, you can see I have both the UniFi Protect camera recordings in this folder and my NAS files in another folder, right? And now if I go to the recording, And you can see there's no problem. I see the recording history. At this moment, they are both good. Now let me restart the UNVR Pro. Go to Setting, Control Plane, Console, then Restart. UNVR Pro is back. If I go to Dashboard, yeah, the camera is still there. If I go to Playback, yes, I can still see recordings. From the SSH session, of course, I need to log on to it again. Then let me CD to volume 1. Yes, I still see my test folder. Yeah, the files are still there. Whether the Samba service is still there, let me check the status. Okay, it's still active. So just a restart didn't ruin anything. The service is still there. My files are still there. Okay, so we are good with a server reboot. Then let's try if I want to change some, let's say, UniFi OS configuration. Let me go to the setting for control plane, console. I don't know, maybe just the screen brightness, just change something, apply changes. Whether my file is still there. Okay, they're still there. So just a small configuration change will not impact my NAS files. Then let's try the biggest concern. What if I upgrade the OS? So let me go to the control plane updates. The UniFi OS is still up to date. So I have no way to upgrade it. But let me try to downgrade it. Then upgrade again. So just to simulate a upgrade. Then let's see what will happen. I'm showing you the UniFi firmware release page. So let me find the previous version of the UniFi OS for UNVR Pro. I am using the 4.0.18. So I need to find another version. This is the previous version, 4.0.6. So let me copy the download link. Then go back to the SSH, run command ubnt-systour firmware update, then followed by the link I just copied. You can see it's a bin file, right? Just a warning, what I'm doing is very dangerous, very risky. If you want to do something similar like this, you need to make sure you know what you are doing, okay? Okay, the system will reboot automatically. Give it some time. Now the UNVR Pro is back, but it is in an awkward situation, even though it has nothing to do with my NAS changes. So the situation is the UniFi OS has been downgraded, but the UniFi Protect is still with the newest version. This version is not compatible with the old UniFi OS. So now the OS is up, but the UniFi Protect application cannot run successfully. You can see it will keep failing, keep trying again and again, but every time the restart will fail for the UniFi Protect application, even though the UniFi OS is fine. So then let's address the UniFi Protect issue, right? Even though that has nothing to do with this video, but just to make some of the viewers comfortable. So let's try it anyway. So if I click on this release note for the UNVR Pro's UniFi OS, you can see it's bundled with this UniFi Protect version. Apparently, if you check our current version, it's too high, right? There's a way to downgrade the UniFi Protect application. Let me run this command. It's the normal Debian way to install or reinstall packet. What I'm doing is I want to install UniFi Protect, this version, and I allow downgrades. I want to reinstall it. Okay, let me run it. It's reinstalled, and from the UniFi Protect user interface, you can see the application is up and running. Click on it. My test video is still there. Let's go to the console again. See, now I can update the UniFi OS because I just downgraded, right? Let me upgrade the UniFi OS. Okay, it's back. Then you can see it has the newest version now. And then if we go to UniFi Protect, yes, the camera is still here. But what about our files? Okay, the test folder is still there. All of our files are here. What about the SMB service? Okay, it is still there. Just to make sure the NAS service is still up and running, let me go to the Mac machine and let's see whether we can mount the shared folder again. I got error here. Even though in the left side we can see the Samba service is still running. Let me check the Samba configuration file. Okay, the firmware upgrade revert back the configuration file because remember the file was there, right? Then let me see whether I can easily restore the configuration file. Let me use the exact same setting as previously. Save it. Let me restart the Samba service. Restart SMBD. Okay, restart it. Then from the client machine, let me try again. It still has error. Okay, I believe I know what happened. OS update not only overwritten the configuration file, but also the actual packets I installed. For example, the Samba packet. So I need to reinstall Samba. apt update. Then apt install Samba. Okay, I just updated the configuration file, so I want to keep the local version. Then let me restart the Samba service. Okay, then from the client machine, try again. Okay, finally I see this dialog. The password is not correct, so let me use SMB password. Okay, then try again. This time it works. I can still access all the files. So now it's clear. OS upgrade will overwrite the configuration file, will overwrite your installed additional packets, or the settings, for example, the password, also need to be redone again. The most important thing, all the folders, the files, they are still there, untouched. So even though it's not convenient, at least I can live with it. And there is a way to avoid all the troubles because you can go to the settings. For your application setting, you can disable the auto update, right? Then you can choose when to update. Just need to remember after the update, you may need to reinstall the packets you need and redo some configurations. Yeah. Now we are clear about the UniFi OS upgrade situation. Let's try the very last one. What if I do a factory reset? From the console setting, let me do the factory reset. Again, here I need to stress one more time. All the files I put in this video for testing, I have a lot of backups. So this is just for my own testing. So I don't care whether those files are lost. Before you proceed with a factory reset, think about it. Okay, let me do it anyway. I have two options. Just reset configuration or erase disk data. Okay, of course, if I choose erase disk data, my file will be gone for sure, right? Including the existing UniFi Protect recordings. But if I just choose this one, I may get similar result as a upgrade. Let me try it. If I manually connect to the IP address, I can see this initial setup screen. Let me proceed. Okay, setup complete. Go to dashboard. I can see my camera is still here. If I go to recording, all the history is still here because I didn't overwrite the disk, right? If I go to UniFi console, let me see whether I still have the SSH enabled. Of course not. Let me re-enable it. Okay, enabled. Then in the lower left, let me SSH into the UNVR Pro. Then go to volume 1. Okay, it seems my file is still here. The files are not overwritten. And of course, all the configurations or the additional packets we need to redo again. For this type of reset to factory, the behavior is the same as the OS upgrade when it comes to our NAS services. Now we tried all the concerns, at least To me, all the configuration, overwritten, and packets reinstallation, they are not really big deal. But it's just me. Maybe for some people, apparently it's not a mature solution, right? So that's why for this video, in the title, I said it's a failure. Just want to lower your hope. But at least for me, if I want, I may try to use it as a NAS. Who knows? Before ending this video, my disclaimer again. Everything I talk about in this video may be risky or dangerous. So don't put your valuable files for testing. Take your own risk. Think about it. Back up your files, including your camera recordings. Okay, that's the end of the video. Thanks for watching.